Alright, AP Human Geography classes. Here we are with our second video in our migration unit. Alright, and what we're going to tackle now is where are migrants distributed in the United States and around the world. Let's get to it. Alright, so where are the largest flows of migrants? Well, if you take a look at this little web, this intricate web on the right here, we can identify the following three places, or the following three flows. One is a migrant flow from Asia into Europe. All right. Another migrant flow is from Asia into North America, and another large migrant flow is from Latin America into North America. All right. And if we actually take a look even further into this intricate web of migration, guess what? We find a trend. Yes. All right. And we've talked about this before, but look, there's movement from LDCs to MDCs. If you take a look at Latin America into the movement of North America, all right, you can see a lot of these less developed countries moving to either the United States or Canada, which is a more developed country. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's focus on United States versus other nations. Well, look, I think I told you in class, I'll say it again. United States is the highest foreign-born residents of any country. If you look at the statistic here, we have 40 million people that are foreign-born as of 2010, and every single year we're growing by 1 million. It's crazy. Other countries that have high net migrations are as follows: Australia, Canada, and the Middle East. If you look at the map I have to the right here, you'll see that the blue countries have a positive net migration. And if you remember what we talked about from last video, a positive net migration means there are more immigrants coming into the country than immigrants leaving from that country. So henceforth, they're gaining more and more people. And if you take a look at this map, again, it relates right back to what I just said regarding nations with high net migration. Now, let's focus on the United States. Let's focus on their immigration patterns throughout the years. If you look at immigration, you can break it down into three eras. All right, first is the colonial immigration era from England to Africa. We'll discuss that. Then there's 19th to 20th century immigration from Europe. And now there's the current or 21st century immigration from Asia and Latin America. Now, in all three of these eras, you can identify two main reasons for leaving. Now, we discussed in class that economic reasons is a huge push and pull factor. Well, guess what? It pops up here again. And as well as high population growth could drive somebody to go from one place to another. All right, let's analyze these eras. So, first era is, again, colonial immigration. And this era is about 1607 to 1840, all right? We see here there's a large migration, forced migration, from Africa through slavery, where roughly 650,000 Africans came during this time. We also have another type of migration from Europe, all right? It's a mixture of voluntary and forced, more so voluntary to come to the United States. And during this time, 90% of the immigrants from Europe, all right, came from Great Britain, right? That should be no surprise there. All right, let's jump into our next era here. And this is the era that, a lot of people identify in the United States as the immigration era. It's the 19th to 20th century. And this era goes from 1840 to 1914, just before World War I, where 40 million Europeans came during this time. All right, if you take a look here, I'm not going to list them out, but these are the largest immigrant populations. Maybe some of you are surprised to know that German is actually the largest immigrant population that came during this time period. And if you came through on the East Coast, well, guess what? You probably can trace your ancestry during this time period back through Ellis Island, where they processed approximately 12 million immigrants between 1892 and 1954. We'll visit Ellis Island in class and talk more about it. Let's keep going. All right, here's our current century immigration here, all right, 21st century immigration. Now, 21st century include the Great Depression and World War II, where obviously immigration fell a lot. And the reason why is because a lot of people are leaving a country, again, for economic reasons. So they're not going to go to another country where the economy is just as poor. Yet, we still have immigrants flocking into our country between this time period. And the sole fact is that it wasn't as bad in our country as per se somewhere else. Now, after 1950, right after World War II and everything got settled down, one can identify that 75% of all immigrants from 1950 on came from either Asia or Latin America. That's crazy. If you look at the map here that I have for you on the right, you'll see here what exactly reflects my statement from before. 75% of all immigrants from either Asia or Latin America after 1950. Take a look at that map. So, what is the impact on immigration? Well, look, two different ways a lot of people explain immigration. Now, they've changed. Before, we used to call it the melting pot. Now, the melting pot is when all these ethnicities are coming into America and becoming one. They're assimilating, all right? So Chinese, Irish, Italian, let's say even Russian, are assimilating to become American in this one pot. Assimilation in this sense is not really a good thing. They're basically saying that the melting pot analogy is taking away the cultural identity of these races, and therefore they created the salad bowl explanation. And I like the salad bowl explanation because you keep your cultural identity and you still are in that whole that pot or that bowl, all right? Where yes, of course, you assimilate a little bit by picking up some American things, but nonetheless, you still maintain your cultural identity. And I completely agree with that logic. All right, so look, positive impacts of immigration. And I kind of just said it right there with the cultural identity, the diffusion of culture. If you think about America, we are, a mixture of cultures. And it's seen through our food, our music, our dance, our clothing, our lifestyles, etc. All right. What are the negative aspects of immigration, even back then to today? Well, you know what? It's economic reasons. And if you think about the immigration debate today, there's a large majority that state that, there are less job opportunities because of immigrants. And it has been like that, this reasoning, from the past into present day. Okay, that's it. We will discuss this more in class. I will see you then.